Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Heartbeat. I'm Erica English, and I'm here in the Fishbowl Network. It is nestled inside of what used to be Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. And we want to thank you guys for letting us occupy your space tonight. I am here with a very dear friend of mine and a beloved coworker. I've had the pleasure of working with her for several years, Miss Shawn Ewing. She
Thank
is
you.
the mother of Kerrion Franklin. She and Kirk Franklin shared Kerrion as parents. So thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you for being here to support me, and thank you, Paul. He's engineering for us. It's just an honor and a privilege to be here, even in for this moment and this occasion. But God is still good, and God's gonna get the glory.
He will. He will.
Out of all of this.
Well, thank you for trusting me with this. And this is, we are just going to let people eavesdrop on conversations that we've had over the last couple of years, because I know that this has been a sort of a sensitive subject for you for some time now. So just give everybody else some background as to how we got here.
How we got here. I have a son. His name is Kerrion Franklin. He's my beloved. He's my only child. I love him. And we have had challenges. Of course, when you're a teenage parent, you're not perfect, but we had challenges. But over the years, Kirk Franklin and I have been co-parents. And even though our son will be 33 in a couple of months, he's still our child. And we vowed to work together with raising him, parenting him, and even though we've had some challenges, we still remain co-parents. A lot of times people haven't heard from me. I haven't made a lot of noise in the news, behind Kirk. And for what or why, But we're here because some private information was leaked and Kirk kind of lost his cool. And we talk about cancel culture. And I was thinking, I can't leave Kirk out here by himself on this one. So I'm really not talking to y'all, anyone else. I'm really talking to my son. But you all will get a glimpse of this because of it was made public. So that's why we're here.
But so for the last couple of years, I know that things have been posted online.
Yes.
By your son. So just kind of paint the picture as to, I guess, how things kind of climax to what we are dealing with today.
Well, when an individual child or someone is, so to speak, rebelling against their parents, and you hold them to a point of accountability, sometimes you get pushback. And sometimes you get pushed back because they say things are not fair, or sometimes you get pushed back because they are in a rebellious state. And as you're working through that, you're trying to really find out, well, what is it? So Kerrion felt at one point that his father was trying to kill him. And when I got wind of it and we talked about it, I said, Kerrion, I don't care who it is. If anybody's trying to hurt you, then we can go file a police report. We will deal with it. I'm not saying my son is not hurting from us being teenage parents. I'm not saying my son doesn't have a testimony. But what I am saying is you were not abandoned. No one abdicated their responsibility towards you. You are loved. You are loved, Kerrion Franklin. And I'll look in the camera and say that you are loved. We support you then, we support you now, we support you tomorrow. But there's a way to deal with it. And all we've tried to do as parents is work through the issue, get our son to a point of being a productive citizen in society, as well as having a good life. So, but things kind of didn't go that way. And that's okay because families go through things. But we don't get to use a part of an audio and not understand the true history of counseling, therapy, godly counsel, holding Kerrion responsible, holding Kirk responsible, holding myself responsible, because I want to deal with what my son needs to deal with. And unfortunately, we're now having to do it here.
And just some background about you, because you have experience in helping people who have had trauma with your work in the Women's Center. And you and I have just talked several times about the Metoo movement, just in our own personal conversations.
Absolutely.
And I know you feel passionately about just if there is an allegation or if there is something that has happened, just to go about it the right way.
Right. We're not saying that a victim, and sometimes it takes years for a victim to come forward, to be able to have the strength and the courage to tell their story. What I am saying is it's not fair to cancel somebody out before you have formally filed a complaint, made a police report, and given the way for investigation. We are quick, especially for black men, to cancel them out. And if this happens to one black man, that means it could happen to my son in the future. That means it could happen to his father. That means it could happen to the next man of God, woman of God, the next parent, the next boy or girl. So it's a danger when we take that into consideration, where someone can just come forth and say something without a protocol in order to deal with it. And we have a protocol. Sometimes people do wait too late to make a report past the statute of limitations. But we're not saying that you can't tell your testimony, but you shouldn't just run to social media first to cancel somebody out or to expose someone. And then if you are going to do that, make sure you expose yourself first. Deal with yourself first. So I worked at the Women's Center in Tarrant County for 6 years. And I worked in rape crisis and victim services, and that's when I really became educated on sexual assault, date rape, domestic violence, child sexual abuse. And then I went on and I worked for Volunteers of America. I worked at the Halfway House Reentry. I worked with all kinds of individuals with backgrounds, all types of gang members, bank robbers, arsonists, you name it. I've worked in the real deal. And then working there, trying to protect my son from that environment that I work in, when people become angry, dealing with your norm of teenage parenting, coming off the cuffs of being a teenage mom myself. It was a lot, to deal with. But I was rooted and grounded in God. And so as I've matured, I tried to work with his father to continue to parent our son. And most people would say, y'all shouldn't even be talking anymore. We talk when we need to talk about our son, because that's how much we love him.
Yeah, and I will say that I commend your co-parenting between the both of you. It's been something that I've, admired, just watching how you guys have worked together on so many things. But let's talk about context, because you mentioned something earlier about taking a snippet of audio, and people, it's kind of dangerous to make assumptions when you don't know the full context or conversation.
Right.
And you and I were talking over dinner about Proverbs 31. And
Absolutely.
I want you to bring that up, because you made an interesting point.
Well, first, the most important thing is my son's soul. And I've shared when we gave Kerrion, when he was 16, we gave him a rite of passage ceremony. And I shared these same sentiments with Kerrion then, and I feel it befitting to always start with God's word first, because my son's soul is most important to me. Have I made mistakes as a mother? Absolutely, I have. Have I kind of lost my cool before? Absolutely, I have. And I'm pretty sure if Kerrion has some audio on Kirk, he may have some audio on me. So I'm here so we can go on and flush it out. And while we're flushing it out, and while we're dealing with it publicly, then maybe we can also bless some other people along the way to say, hey, this is how we've done it. And sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes we lose our cool. We don't condone violence or threatening, but discipline is important. And sometimes when somebody say, I am going to beat you, that don't literally mean they're going to beat them where they have bruises, cuts, broken bones, where they have those type of things. That means I'm going to discipline you because you're out of line.
And, in our culture, we always say it's better that I do it
than
have you go into the world and have a police officer do it.
You know what, Erica, and thank you for saying that, because in dealing with my son, I would rather have his father talk to him, toil with him, tarry with him, and deal with him, versus having some police officer who's trained, who doesn't love him, snuff him out because of his strong personality. I would rather his father deal with him. And so this is for my son first, his father second, and then everybody else last. Because at the end of the day, most of the people who will hear me speak don't care nothing about Kerrion Franklin, don't care nothing about Sean Ewing, don't care nothing about Kirk Franklin and his family. But I care about Kerrion Franklin, and I care about Kirk Franklin, because Kerrion, that's his father.
Right.
But anyway, I was at an event, and I got a call from Kirk. And so I went to take the call because, you know, most of the time, if it's, you know, he's calling me that early because he knows I'm not a morning person, I know it's something going on. Mm-hmm. So I took the call, and I told him, I said, hey, I'm at an event, but he gave me a little bit of the story. And I said, okay, I'll check it out as soon as I leave here. And that's how I came into the knowledge of what had happened.
And so at that point, did you call Kerrion or
I text Kerrion. I text him and I said, basically, that I'm not understanding why he wants to push this out into the public, but he has his reasons, and I don't want to take that from him. But I can't not act as if just because Kirk said a few words that were not appropriate, but I've said some words sometimes that's not appropriate, and Kerrion has said some words that have not been appropriate, but we still are trying to work through it. And I'm not going to let somebody just come in and say, oh, well, you know, I'm going to cancel this or cancel. No, we're not going to do that. We're not.